Welcome to Hard to Play, Roommates Gaming's bi-weekly video game focused podcast. My name is Justin. As always, we got Josh. Eric's here. And joining us this week for a special episode, Tony is joining us. Tony's a friend of ours. We are going to talk about the Xbox game showcase that happened on July 23rd. We are a little bit late on that, but that's because it happened after we'd already recorded the last episode. So, before we dive in, just want to remind you guys that this video goes up these videos go up every other Friday on youtube.com/roommatesgaming. They rotate out with the sausage tray that I know we missed last week, and another one will be coming around. We were on vacation. A lot of things are going on.
We were on vacation.
Yeah, I was on vacation.
I was on vacation too. I wasn't editing.
Yeah, there you go. Josh took a staycation. You can find links for our Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and the link to join our Discord page below this video. Of course, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's iTunes, Google, Spotify, wherever, we put the audio version up at the same time we put the video up every Friday. They usually go up at noon, so you can check it out there. One last thing that I want to plug, or two things actually. We do video. We put up video game plays every Monday. This past Monday, of course, we put up the Hitman 2 video. You can check that out and see some of the fun that we have doing that one. I wasn't in it, but still. I need to do a Hitman play because I haven't done one yet.
No, you haven't. You should join.
Yeah, that just hit me. Like, I haven't done one of those. I've played the game, obviously, but also, go check out our Last of Us Part 2 spoiler cast that we did 2 weeks ago. It was myself, Josh, Truesdale, and JT joined us to discuss that game. It was very special. We really enjoyed it. I think we will try to do more fully inclusive spoiler cast things for games that are special to us in the future. Looking at you, Ghost of Tsushima. All right. So, with all of that being said, guys, we had a little bit of a show where Microsoft got up and told us about some video games they got coming down the pipe. So let's go down the list and talk about what was displayed during the show. Of course, I've got the games that they showed off during the last showcase as well, but I think Microsoft knew they had to come out strong, and they showed off the Halo Infinite gameplay. First and foremost, you got to see Master Chief when he lands and goes on a short little run around what is essentially an open map for Infinite. Of course, he's got his hook shot now.
There's a grappling hook in it. It's a good game.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't argue with the rules.
You really can't, man.
It's a grappling hook that is combat related, traversal related, and also, I mean, the fact that you can bring things to you like exploding barrels.
Yep.
So if you accidentally grapple an exploding barrel, it's not going to explode when it comes into your hand, which would be a terrible game mechanic to accidentally. Because I would do it a lot.
Yeah. Actions have consequences.
Josh and I were having this conversation earlier. A game should punish you for playing badly.
Well,
a lot of games do.
I mean, Guardians punish you for just playing the game.
That's true. I know there's been some outspokenness online for how it looks, but it's an artistic decision, and I think the game looks great. It looks fantastic for a Halo game. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, I watched the presentation. The first presentation I was able to ask off work for. The second presentation I was not able to get off work for. But so I was watching it on the shitty computer monitor at work, in between customers, and I was like, "Holy cow, this looks great!" And then I saw some people, but then I rewatched it at home on the Scorpio on my 4K TV, and I was like, "Oh my god, this looks great!" And I'm okay with artistic direction.
Yeah, I am too.
It is what I don't mind the way the armor looks. I like that it looks super sleek and everything. And I know that they 343 had to make like an announcement saying, well, we're going to make patches and it's going to look better. And gamers are fickle. We've talked about this before, just, and I feel like sometimes when you cater to people like that, you're never going to please everybody.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to, you're going to piss a lot more people off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not every studio needs to be Naughty Dog. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, not everybody has to make a film for a game. Like, it doesn't have to be hyper realistic. I like the idea of playing something and knowing it's a game, and I like, this is a very pretty game. I like the stylistic decisions made here.
Yep.
I don't know.
When I saw that intro, like for the where he like steps off of that ship, like I immediately got hit with like hella nostalgia from like Halo 1, but not in a bad way. I wasn't like, oh man, this looks like the Xbox original like Halo. This looks like Combat Evolved. But no, I got that like same feel. I was like, this feels like Combat Evolved, like not in a bad way. And I was like, I could dig on that.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
think this is heralding a lot to where the 10-year anniversary of Assassin's Creed, they revamped the game style and they made Origins. They made it to where your armor has different hit points and damage and like really a lot more MMO like armor values and weapon values and things like that. I think they're in the same boat because let's be honest, this Halo has to work.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, there isn't going to be another Halo. I mean, the fact that they realized that Guardians was broken on a coding basis so early on, and they couldn't bring in split screen because it was broken on that so rudimentary level. That was massive, and that's that's what made Halo. That's what made Xbox Live.
Yep.
Couch co-op, and then doing it with your friends while they're on their couches. But that's what made the community. So to take that away was just a mistake, but they realized that, and I think they might be catering with the outcries for the graphics because they needed to please people, but they're going to please people by just making multiplayer free to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is a
huge.
fantastic announcement. That's a huge deal.
That's a fantastic. And they're also we'll probably get into this later about they're following the Destiny, what Bungie's done with Destiny being free to play, and adding on DLCs. Like what they've said something about Infinite not being the beginning of this next iteration in the new Xbox or the Microsoft ecosystem, with it being the platform to start other Halo games, and they're kind of like going away from the numbered games, which I can totally see because it's working.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited with the fact that they chose to do free to play. One quick thing I do want to say: all the games that we're going to discuss today are available on Game Pass, with minute exceptions to a couple of things that are asterisks, and those are just DLCs. Those aren't even whole games. But the fact that the story mode, the single player for Infinite, will be available on Game Pass, which is a service that if you have an Xbox, you have Game Pass at this point. And if you don't, there's something wrong. And if you're just a PC player, you should have Game Pass. Yeah, there's something wrong with you, not for subscribing, because
and Game Pass is a little.
Yeah, we will
giving out games, man.
Yeah, we'll dive into that absolutely, because it is a very important and very. It's a dynamic changing service for how video games are going to work going forward, how consoles are going to work going forward. But also just the tag there that, Halo multiplayer, which is what I can comfortably say without having figures in front of me, that it has to be over 70% of the player base actually cares about is the multiplayer. Having that go free to play is phenomenal. That's what people keep coming back to. Even if you like the story of previous games, Eric, do you want to say it now, or do you want to wait a minute? There you go. Josh beat you to it. I was just waiting for one of you. The story, the story is important.
I'll be with you on that.
The story is important, but the multiplayer is what keeps people coming back. We all played Halo 2. We all did Hang 'em High Ascension, the whole 9 yards. Like we remember how important that was to us as a community. So the fact that they would go free to play with that and offer it out is a gigantic move, and it's nothing but consumer friendly to get people to go, hey, check out this new thing. And another thing that I'm sure we're going to dive into is the fact that if you don't buy a Series X, you can still play Halo Infinite with people. You can, like, it's not bound to just that console. Like, I mean, legacy players can play
on your Xbox or on your PC.
On your Xbox or on your PC. Yeah. Like, it's pretty cool how you're going to see these things blur together. Of course, after Halo, there were more announcements. State of Decay 3 was announced with a teaser trailer. Forza Motorsport was also announced.
Which, interestingly enough, they dropped the number on their system as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting thing that they didn't really go into, but it kind of alludes to this new format of the way games are going. So that's going to be interesting to play out.
I have a theory about the motorsports thing, and them dropping the number. I think they're trying to focus, like, I guess what motorsport would be kind of like what Gran Turismo did with their sport, where it's all about actual race cars.
Yep.
Like, and like race tracks. Like the numbered Forzas were already like that, but like there was a little bit more like sway because you could like actually use civilian cars, civilian or like street cars, and like, you know, soup them up to be on a track. But I have a feeling that the motorsports, I think they're trying to shift to like, this is actually a like street, or not a street, this is a racing simulator. So you're only going to be playing with race cars. So the race versions of these cars. And
because you think they have because Horizon will take care of the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because I think that Horizon being their more arcadey simulator, that brings people in for like, oh, I can, you know, go buy a Mustang in the game and then make it look like my Mustang, and I can drive around Colorado or France or England. I feel like they're probably trying to force that split more, where it's like, this is for racing, this is for our sports racing, and this is for our like fun like arcadey kind of driving.
Yeah.
Shoot the shit on the Horizon and let's get, you know, serious with motorsport. I can see that.
Yeah. I can also see Forza Motorsport going games as service. Hands down, I can see that.
Josh, you know, I have one rule about racing games. If I can't buy a Toyota Supra, it's not a good one.
That's not a bad rule, actually. I mean, we're never going to get Midnight Club 4, which is what we all really want, right?
Like, I want my Geo Tracker back.
Man.
Yeah.
It's like,
let's talk about our first cars, guys.
1 in every 6 people had a Geo Tracker back in the day.
I knew somebody who had a Geo Tracker. So
I know. Just like everybody's 7 degrees from Kevin Bacon, you're like 4 degrees from somebody who owned a Geo Tracker.
I'm pretty sure someone in my family owned one.
3 people in my family owned one. Moving on from Geo Trackers. We got a new IP from Rare, Everwild. Don't know what it is, but I'm sold. I just trust Rare to make things. I like Rare. They're a great studio.
It's gorgeous. It looks gorgeous.
It is. It is a beautiful game, and there's a, I don't want to say Fable-esque, but there is a Fable-esque little bit of brightness to it that looks interesting, and I can't wait to see or hear more about it.
Almost as well as Wind Waker.
Yeah.
It's got like a Wind Waker kind of.
Wind Waker proved that you can be cel shade and be gorgeous and captivating.
Yep.
And I think they're really tapping in on that.
Yep.
Wind Waker is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's cool to see. We were talking about art styles a little bit ago with Halo. It's cool to see not everything is going super detail oriented like some of the other games, like the Medium further down the list here that was announced at the previous showcase. Hyper realistic game. And then we have Tell Me Why, which is a story-based game from Don't Nod. A remaster of Ori and the Will of the Wisps for Series X, which is soon, but the improvements to the game overall, looking forward to how they pull it, because it's 120 frames per second, right?
120 frames per second at 4K.
It's impressive.
It's mind-boggling that we are months away from that being almost the standard.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if not, obviously 60 frames per second, the standard, bare minimum. If you're not running 60 frames per second on the next gen console, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like that's, I mean, as a game developer, as the powers there, as someone that's going to make a console, you have to have ray tracing. That's what makes the next generation. That's what makes the HDR. That makes, I mean, if you're not doing that, then you're not utilizing it. You might as well have made it 5 years ago. But yeah, at double the standard, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's one of those games that the art style is beautiful. As simplistic as it is, the art style is beautiful. But the detail they put into light strokes and things like that game, it'll be really awesome to see some of those transitions while you play through it. I haven't actually played through Will of the Wisps yet. I've seen a lot of videos and gameplays on it. I'm looking forward to actually getting my hands on it and playing through.
If you haven't watched the release yet, especially with this, I thought it was really cool how they showed the 120 frames per second, slowed down, obviously, like next to what they have now, the 30 frames per second, and how many frames that actually is.
Yeah.
They probably played 5 seconds in total over the course of like a minute while he's talking about it. And it's so slow, but you realize how choppy it is and how smooth, even at that speed, how smooth the 120 frames per second is. And they didn't even show it in real time.
Yeah, there was I saw that video. There's a clip of what I believe to be like a monster or boss in an area opening up, and like you can see
like the multiple like snake tongues or something like that.
And then an explosion happening or some sort of burst happening around, and you can see like the differences in frames for that. And it's very impressive how it reduces the noise in the images. After Ori, we have DLC for The Outer Worlds. And this is not on Game Pass. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The Outer Worlds obviously is on Game Pass.
Right.
But we were talking about that, and Jock, you said that it was because like you think it's because like
since
title issues.
Yeah, since it's a brand new like DLC, and this was before Private Division developed or published this game. It was before like Microsoft bought Obsidian. So obviously, you know, Private Division probably wants to still make their money from each of the consoles, but also not want to step on Sony or Nintendo's feet by going, oh yeah, this DLC is free on Game Pass, but Switch and Sony, you still have to pay for it because fuck you. But I feel like, you know, since Private Division is they're their own company and they're not owned by Microsoft, they probably are doing it, you know, to not like mess with Sony or Nintendo and also still make their money off of the DLC sales. But like if this was like a complete edition, it wouldn't matter because everything was already included in that kind of bundle. But since it's a brand new like first release, obviously they're gonna make it paid.
Yeah,
but maybe later down the line, if there's like a complete edition of Outer Worlds on Game Pass, it won't cost any money.
Yeah. You can see that. Go ahead.
Right. I was gonna say, just to be clear, because you are on Game Pass, you do have a discounted rate for your purchases on the Microsoft Store,
10%,
and all that. So for games that are leaving Game Pass, you get an extra like 25 or something like that % off to purchase the game if you really enjoyed the game. So I'm sure that it's obviously going to be cheaper, so there might be a little bit more of a push for that to keep you playing on the Xbox as in conjunction instead of like buying the DLC for Sony or something. Like
Right.
that.
Josh, what you were saying about like if it was a Master's Collection or whatever else, like a full capture of the game and Game of the Year, whatever have you. Since that is a complete SKU, you're right. That's something that you could see go up on PlayStation Plus. That's something you could see go up on Game Pass, because that's the whole package as one. That's not this game plus this DLC.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I've seen. I don't think I ever have actually seen a DLC pack go up on Games with Gold or with PlayStation Plus, because that's not what they're trying to give you. They're trying to give you the whole experience if they try to give you anything.
Yeah, if any DLC has ever gone up on them, it's always been some kind of collector's edition.
Definitive,
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can expect that down the road after I'm going to say after PC players and after PC can play on Xbox, but after PlayStation players get their hands on the DLC, down the road you can see that getting rolled into Game Pass. But it's definitely not something that's going to happen at the beginning. Following up that, we got the announcement for a release date for Grounded, which is the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids game. Basically what it is.
Not to be confused with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, not to be confused with Cyberpunk. That was a great opening. Like, if you're waiting for the best game, wait for Cyberpunk. Like,
I love that.
And they tweeted it back.
Yep.
And they tweeted it back.
Yep.
Yeah, CD Projekt Red tweeted it back like, all right, we see you.
Yep. It's so good. I know I told you guys before, I was at the beach last week with my family, with my kids, on vacation. And my kids knew when July 28th rolled around, and they were like, hey, Dad, get out your phone and download Grounded so we can play it as soon as we get home. Because that's something my kids are apparently aware that I can do now. My 8-year-old realizes I can push downloads from my cell phone.
That's why you don't raise your kids on technology.
If technology doesn't raise your kids, who does?
On technology.
Yeah, if Eric ever has kids, he's gonna send them out into the wild and like, when you're 18, you can come back.
That's how I was raised.
That's what Grounded is specifically teaching kids how to survive in the wild.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Against gigantic bugs and things like that.
I love that you can actually turn off there's a filter for arachnophobe people for the spiders.
I would leave. I would leave
Yeah.
that on.
It was kind of interesting looking, and then I saw the spiders, and I'm like, I'm good. Those are like hyper realistic. I'm good.
I haven't.
And then
Like you could leave your friends and feed them to the spiders and go somewhere else. I was like, wow, just putting it right out there, guys. Good job.
I haven't played. They've enjoyed it. I haven't even watched any of the gameplay because I've failed as a father apparently. But like they're getting into it. They really enjoy it. I'll have to pick up a copy at some point and play it myself.
They're also treating this as a beta too.
Yeah,
Because
it's early
they're getting
access.
everything that they can. Yeah, it's an early access, but I mean full game, but it's on Game Pass. You don't have to pay for it, obviously. But like,
I can
I think
download
it's just
it.
going to make their release for Series X just that much smoother.
Yep.
You know,
Do the demo testing now, right?
for sure.
Also from Obsidian, we saw a clip of a game called Avowed. It wasn't really a clip; it was a cinematic trailer. That's a new RPG from Obsidian. Kind of get Elder Scrolls vibes from it. That's pretty much the direction they're going to be going in. Looking forward to hear more. That's pretty much all I can say right now.
I've always said that I like Elder Scrolls more than Fallout, so you can imagine how I feel about Obsidian making an Elder Scrolls like
Yeah.
game.
I'm the same way. I like Elder Scrolls more. Oblivion personally over Skyrim. I don't know why. It's just the way I am.
I don't know why.
What the hell's wrong with you? That game is
I loved Oblivion.
Is Shivering Isles.
I loved Oblivion. I don't know why. Everybody is entitled to a bad opinion once in a while. Just leave me be. We also got an announcement for As Dusk Falls. That's the artistic, like hand-drawn one, right?
The one they videotaped and then like a Scanner Darkly.
Yeah.
The movie that they videotaped the actors and whatnot in front of green screens, then superimposed, and then they retrace the highlights. It reminds me a lot of the Telltale stuff. And so does Tell Me Why.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that style of art, especially art style, I feel like you're really boxed in to that type of narrative, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But unless they videotape them and then motion captured them and then drew over there's a lot to make it just any type of like action oriented.
Tell Me Why reminds me of what is the episodic one about the girl and the end of the world?
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. Yes. Like I got huge Life is Strange vibes from Tell Me Why.
Yeah.
Which was
super successful.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we're not discounting these by any means.
No, yeah. Like
Tell Me Why is the one like where like it's a brother and a sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like the separated siblings or whatever.
They go back to the cabin and they're like figuring out like different things that happen in their childhood and seeing a different, more adult perspective on things. And I think that that's something that happens to literally everyone.
Yeah. See,
so
interactive stories like this are something that I'm really happy are becoming more prominent in video gaming because like shooty, stabby. We've been doing that forever, but it's nice to have a different pace of story collection in games because video games are that medium where a movie's gonna give you the story straight out. A book's gonna give you the story straight out. Video games, you have to earn it. So like you have to work for it if you want to see what goes further, unless you just go online and read a synopsis or summary after the fact, or which my wife does while I'm playing through story-based games. She'll go on and read the ending and be like, oh, I know what happened. Anyway, so I'm happy to see things like this coming up on the list.
It's also way cheaper than a therapist.
It is a lot cheaper.
It really is.
Like these story-driven, and it causes people that are into the narrative of games like that. They have to focus on it so much. Typically, it causes some internal thought process.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a lot of these game developers that are doing these things. They do. They go in, especially we'll get to that, but Hellblade, that's what Ninja Theory did. They talked to people about the first one and how they made it, and we'll get on that probably a little bit.
Actually, the next game on the list, Hellblade 2. So let's dive right in.
Excellent.
Well done.
Yeah. It was the next one on my list. I just didn't remember if it was actually in order or not because I haven't.
You got it.
Yeah.
So go ahead and drop the grenade now, and I'll run out. I haven't played Hellblade.
Yeah.
So
Hellblade. If you haven't played Hellblade, you're fucking up. It's on Game Pass.
Justin, I didn't say this before, but I also haven't played Hellblade.
So that's 3 out of 4. Preach to us, Tony.
Fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, here the thing is, if you really want to just plow through it, that's fine. If you're just, let's go. Let's not find the 24 or something totems to get the mythological story, like of the birth and of Norse mythology, and then going into the Ragnarok and all of that stuff. If you don't need to do that, that's fine. But if you're just playing the story and just going through it and not really exploring or admiring the absolute beauty of this, then you could probably do it in like 4.5, 5 hours. Like, it's really not a long game, but it is extremely, extremely good game. And the fact that they took so much time to develop it correctly so if you haven't played it, whoever's listening or watching, it deals with mental illnesses and things like that. So they talk to people that either helped people with mental illnesses or suffered from it. And it's made for headphones, and there's voice. It's crazy. And I'll be the same. I didn't even put headphones on until the last 2 hours of me playing the game. I would always boot the game up and then go get a drink and then come back and sit down. And it was already, that warning screen was already there or already passed. But no, it's really good. And like, also, do you remember Myst the Cyan game,
Hell yes.
point and click on PC. Yeah, absolutely right.
From Vista.
Remember
Yeah.
how they had with Mist, Riven, Exile, I think all the way up to the last one, the Mist 5 or whatever. Do not remember what that's called, but they would bring real people. They videotaped real people, put them into the video game, and like put a background behind it, green screen people into the back of the game, which was crazy back in like 93 or something like that, whenever it came out. But that's Senua, your protagonist of the character or of Hellblade. She was the only character in the entire game, period.
Yep.
In the story. You had these shadow things that would come up as your enemies. It was very cinematic style, kind of like Prince of Persia 2008. Very cinematic fighting style, very simplistic fighting style. But any character that you would remotely revolve in, like a spirit character or whatnot, they kind of superimpose a video of somebody basically doing a monologue over it. Very, very, very interesting. I'm extremely excited that Hellblade 2 is mentally journey. I can't say anything because all you are going to play it, and everybody that's listening, you better play it. It's on Game Pass. It's free. All right?
Yes, Tony.
Yeah, I actually I've owned it for a long time.
It's also optimized for Xbox.
Yeah,
like it runs better, and that's what we'll probably get into that later too, about like everything that's being optimized for Series X. Even if it's going to be on Sony, if even it's going to be on PC, it's optimized. It might run 30 frames per second on or 60 frames per second on PS5, but it's going to run 120 frames per second on Series X. Like it's going to be a better experience, and I personally already have a better experience anyway, just through Xbox Live and everything. But I think it's really important to have that distinction. So even the games that are on Game Pass, it really, really makes sense that things are going to look and play better.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have more NPCs. I'm excited to see some gameplay, because the trailers that they've shown, because the game looks just like the trailer, period. Like the cinematics in Hellblade 1 are the same as the gameplay in the cinema, and it's the same engine almost. Which in this next generation, that should be a staple. We've already talked about this, with the ray tracing and stuff. Your cinematics should look like we have the power, we have the technology, we can do it, right?
Right.
So it's a lot of people were giving Microsoft flack for in their May about how, oh yeah, it's gameplay. Well, Sony only had 7 things of actual gameplay in their thing too. All of it's cinematic. But what's important is the gameplay looks like the cinematics. The sequences should not be anything different nowadays. And I think that's really, really important. So even though we saw the first ever of Valhalla, gameplay, and it was just it probably was gameplay that was just captured, but it wasn't like a deep dive. It wasn't like Halo Infinite's gameplay. I think that's what everybody really wanted, which was not really Microsoft's fault, in my opinion. I think that was more Ubisoft.
That's Ubisoft.
Was like, even on their Instagram and everything, they were like, first ever gameplay, you're going to see it right here. Check it out, like blah, blah, blah. And then everybody's like, what? That was a bunch of like 5-second clips put together. But everybody does that.
Ubisoft did the same thing with their independent press conference a couple of weeks ago, where they had gameplay, but it was somebody giving a VO constantly about game mechanics, and you'd see like a 5-second clip of something happen, then a different 5-second clip, and they were all spliced together. And I was sitting on the couch. I was sitting on the couch in my living room with my wife. Excuse me. I didn't see the Ubisoft conference live, but I found myself fast forwarding to a new game every couple of minutes. Like as soon as somebody started talking and they would go into quote unquote gameplay, I'm like, I don't want to watch some amalgamation of clips and somebody talking over it. I want to see fluid play if they're going to talk about gameplay. So I would just skip over.
Do you remember when they first showed back in 2008? 2007, 2008. The first Assassin's Creed.
I
They
don't.
had a guy on the stage playing it, and they had all the trailers and things like that to get people pumped of Altair in the city square, taking somebody out and then having to run away and blend into the monks and all that stuff. So they had him, and it was if you've ever played Assassin's Creed, the first game was very linear in combat, and with everything else, it was kill, and kill again. This is what it was. But the guy died on stage, and then it started bringing him out of the Animus, and they cut it off real quick, and they're like, and that's the end of that. We want to do something else, because they didn't tell anybody before it launched. And you play as Altair, and then it jerks you out of the Animus, and you're like, what is this thing? Because it was a complete blindside. And it was just really funny. That's the gameplay. That's how gameplay should be given. Where you're on a stage and you're playing the game, and if you fuck up,
oops.
Yep.
But it shows people are normal. It shows that this is actual game. This is not rehearsed. This is not. How many times do you think he rehearsed playing that Infinite? How many times do you think they clipped that to be able to grapple the energy thing and throw it at the brutes, and to pop your energy shield perfectly to get that grenade stuck on there, just to showcase the different little aspects and nuances.
Yeah. And the play with Guardians was like that too, when they revealed Guardians on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It was a scripted on stage appearance by all means, but I mean, there was a flow to it. And that's kind of what people want to see when they see gameplay. They want to, maybe not something that's exactly scripted, but they want to see fluidity in a full sequence. Right. So, I do anyway.
All right, we'll keep going.
All right. Psychonauts 2. We're going to dive into a whole bunch of sequels right now. Psychonauts 2 was revealed with Jack Black's big bushy beard.
His beautiful voice.
Yep, and his beautiful voice. It still does not make sense how that man's voice gets better with age, but he does. He sounds great. I've never played Psychonauts, or I've never finished Psychonauts 1. I played it when it first came out, and I've got, I guess, about halfway through it if I'm recalling correctly. But that was a long time ago, and I don't remember it enough to contribute to Psychonauts 2. So I'd like to play through it again. The games look fun. I know they have a great following. Real quick, I'm going to call out Stalker 2 because that's getting a sequel as well. And then I'm going to pull back to Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is coming to Game Pass with all expansions.
Including Beyond Light.
Including Beyond Light. That is a huge deal. It was September, and now, Tony, you said it was November now, right? It got delayed?
Yeah, it is November 6th. So it's November 10th, actually. November 10th, that's Tuesday. So that's the beginning of their week start on Tuesday.
Right. So that means it'll be readily available 1 to 2 weeks before an assumed console launch. Because
actually, from what Bungie has alluded to, and this obviously they haven't released a date of when the Series X will come out, but they have said that when Beyond Light launches is whenever the Series X smart delivery will be available. So by that wording, it means that the Series X should come out before November 10th.
That'd be interesting.
But every time that they've talked about it, they're like, yes, you can play it on Game Pass. Whenever the Beyond Light, that's whenever your smart delivery will be available. So why would the smart delivery be available on a time? Why would it matter if that's whenever smart delivery is when you get that, if the console isn't out beforehand?
Right. Do you know?
So-
do you happen to know when the one came out?
No, 2013, November. I don't know. No, it was September 2013.
The Xbox One came out in September.
September or October, yeah.
Huh. I remember.
Because I was still in shorts, and which actually that doesn't really mean anything. I always wear shorts.
I was
Never
about
mind.
to say this group, man. Everybody wears shorts except for
Yeah,
Eric.
no, it's
It looks like Xbox One introduced November 22nd, 2013.
I was thinking it was November 22nd because the 360 was November 22nd.
Yeah, the 360 was November 22nd, 2005.
Yep. If I had to guess,
that's right.
gentlemen.
Destiny 1 came out in 14.
Yep.
That's when Destiny 1 came out. It's until the 14.
Yep.
I was getting that confused. Never mind.
So
Yeah.
with that, November 22nd of this year would be a Sunday. My thought is somewhere between November 17th as a Tuesday or a Friday release for November 20th. So respectively the 24th and 27th as well. Somewhere between the 17th.
What day's Thanksgiving? Is Thanksgiving
the
the following after
26th.
Sunday? So that's what 26?
The 26th. It
Um,
needs to be on shelves before Thanksgiving because
But also they're not retailers like Target and Walmart. They're not having a Thursday Black Friday.
right.
But that doesn't mean they're not going to open up at 5 a.m. or something like that. On if you go up north, there's blue collar laws anyway. So when I worked up north, we never opened up on that holiday. We always opened up at midnight, even though the rest of the stores opened up at like
5
6
6,
p.m.
yeah.
So we would have people that went to like Jersey or New Hampshire and then would Black Friday shop and then come right back up to where they live in Maine and then they would shop again.
Yeah.
Get 2 doorbusters. Yeah, people are crazy. But I also did that, so I can't really say anything.
I
I'm gonna stand in line for this console. I will most likely stand in line. No, I probably won't stand in line for the PS5. No, I'm not pumped about it. I'm really not, but we'll get on that.
and that's
probably.
okay. That's okay. I want a PS5, but nothing has been.
I'll still get one.
Yeah, nothing's been shown to me that makes me think, man, this is a console I want at launch yet, which is really weird. Because it had good titles that were announced for it, but I need to be wowed a little bit more. But with that being said, I think the last 2 weeks, but it has to be before Thanksgiving. It has to be before Black Friday in the States.
I agree.
Yeah, it has to.
Because they need to have that initial launch and then the push to get the more things back on shelves. Because we all know when something is launched near the clusterfuck of Black Friday, then things are you get it in the store, you get it, and then you're like, well, you can't sell it all because you have to have something on Black Friday. Because if it's in your Black Friday ad, then you got to have something to sell.
Right.
And if you sell it all beforehand, so they're going to be pushing the exact same way. So I don't know exactly what Best Buy is doing. They haven't really said one way or the other where they're opening, from what I can tell, or not. But I'm sure they'll follow suit of not being open. And everybody's blaming COVID. But I think with Microsoft ramping down production of the all digital S and then the Scorpio, all of a sudden you have 3 times the manufacturing power to get the new console out. And whether that was part of their plan or not, who knows? But it's in the world that we live in at this time, so
Yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how, because right now, I mean, we're 3.5 months away, so
Yeah.
like it's going to be interesting to see just what kind of impact COVID has on that. But
Also, speaking of Destiny 2, sorry to wrap it back into that.
no, we needed to. Yeah.
If you have Game Pass, again, I will get on my soapbox just for a second. Josh, stop talking. Or stop laughing anyway. But Game Pass Ultimate, they announced that it will be part of xCloud, which xCloud is going away. I got the email today. They announced that that xCloud is going away, and then it's turning into Game Pass. So your stream, everything that you have worked on xCloud will go through it. But that means you can play Destiny for free, well, with your Game Pass membership, obviously, which is pretty much free. Because if you buy 3 first-party games a year, it's $180 brand new. Thinking about it, and every single first-party game that Microsoft puts out will be on Game Pass. Game Pass is only $10 a month. If you put in live, $15 a month, but that's already your
Tony, you froze.
$5 a month anyway.
Hey, we're back.
Oh.
We might be back.
Can you hear me?
I think
Can you hear me?
You're back.
you're back.
We're back.
Okay, cool.
I got real scared for a second.
No.
All right, we're good.
No, it's okay.
I got a little scared.
We're not doing this again.
All right, so Game Pass is $10 a month.
$10 a month, yeah. So you're talking about like $120 a year. That's already one free game out of the 3 first-party games that you would buy from Microsoft. And they own, 16 studios now? Now, obviously, not all of them are going to be $60 games. EA, for once, EA just talked about how Rogue Squadron isn't going to be a full $60 game. It's going to be a $40 game. And I was actually kind of like, they're like, it's simple. It's the same thing. Just flying in space and everything like that. It doesn't have these crazy vistas or whatnot that always have to be rendering. It doesn't need to be $60. For EA to say that, that's pretty
That's pretty big.
that's pretty
Yeah.
huge. That's pretty big. All right. There's probably going to be a shit ton of loot boxes in it that you have to pay for. But
Yeah, when I heard that about Squadron,
So, to me, it just sounds like EA trying to get a little publicity so people keep buying their shit.
Yeah,
But-
it's probably save face a little bit, but yeah, there'll be loot boxes.
it's still good for the consumer of understanding. And they talked about, whenever Recore, that I was actually really excited for. When Recore came out for the Xbox, it was a brand new IP game, $39. It was a full game, but it wasn't Gears. It wasn't Halo. It wasn't from a huge company. So I think that it's really important to have that distinction. And these indie games, they're not $60. So I think that's a healthy look on this as we're going into the different variations of games that can possibly have.
Yeah.
With Halo having free multiplayer, are they going to charge $60 per single player? Is that going to be a thing? Or is it going to be like $40 because it's just single player? Because everybody's already playing multiplayer for free.
I mean, that's an interesting point.
That's a very interesting point.
All of it's obviously
Speculation.
hypothetical
Yeah.
and speculation. It's just, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do that because again, if you're buying the game, that means you don't have Game Pass.
Right.
So it's just like it goes full circle. So again, you're spending that money, but the fact that you can play Destiny 2 anywhere, either on a fucking amazing wireless plan or on Wi-Fi, that's going to be great. And the fact that it's all of it saves over with your cross saves and your all the games that you have done with the beta xCloud that they've done, that will launch on November 15th. They said.
Okay.
So we'll be on the lookout for that.
It'll be really cool to have all that stuff moved over. I'm looking forward to integration they have with PC and things from that perspective. Be really interesting to see what kind of cross-platform support they push for, because I know some things are cross-plat right now between PC and Xbox, but not like I know Josh has PC Game Pass. I have Ultimate, so I can play Xbox and Xbox games on my Xbox or on PC. He can just play what's available on PC, which isn't everything, but it's still a pretty good chunk of pretty awesome games, like Oxenfree. You can play Oxenfree. So that's my one. That's my one.
The Xbox Game Pass on PC is still cool because all of their first party stuff is still on there.
Yep.
Which is what all I needed for. Some of the games that they put on there that aren't their first party titles are really interesting too, because we've actually played some of them because I have it on PC on the channel. We like to shout out Game Pass for allowing us to play some of our games.
Yeah, go check out. It is first party, but go check out our Minecraft Dungeons video. That was great.
Yeah, our Streets of Rage, Munchkin, Moving Out, and Minecraft Dungeons. All because
Moving
of
Out. Forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah. I think they're pushing the ecosystem, and I'm sure we'll talk, but I think it's going to be a lot more, because if I wanted to play MCC with you right now, Josh, I would have to be on my PC. I could not be on my Xbox. And from what I've tried to do with a couple of my other friends. Now, granted, I think they purchased it on Steam, so I think that might have been a hiccup. But I was playing MCC on my PC through my Game Pass. So I was still able to play with them. So I don't know exactly. But I feel like they did also have Ultimate. So I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I am excited about the ecosystem. No one gets left behind. That's huge. It's an all-inclusive culture, and I think that whenever the next generation comes out and the ecosystem is in full-fledged, I think there's going to be a lot less difference in the Ultimate for PC and the Ultimate for Xbox. I think there's going to be a lot more crossover because of the ecosystem that they're building.
Yeah, I feel like it would make the most sense to get all of the games that they have be able to play on PC and Xbox, be able to play with each other. Because I know you can do that with State of Decay. For most of their games, you can. Like with State of Decay 2, I have it on the PC, and JT had it on his actual Xbox. But since he had like Game Pass for like a little bit, but he also had a PC, so he let Eric borrow the Xbox, the actual box, and he played on his PC and I played on my PC, and we were all able to play State of Decay 2 together. And the like same with what was it, Forza. Me and JT would play Horizons together, but he'd be playing on his Xbox and I would be playing on the PC. So it's really cool that you can do that, and I feel like it's weird like you can't do that with the Master Chief Collection, but it might be because they don't want you to play
mouse and keyboard.
Keyboard versus controller.
You can plug a keyboard up to the Xbox.
Yeah.
But nobody's gonna do.
Yeah, but I feel like nobody would do that. They would just be like, why don't I just do that on my PC then?
Yeah,
because they don't want a PC. But it's it's a logical step. Everything that they've done, you can see this progress to integrate, and then finally, that's what's going to happen. And there's going to be some hiccups at the beginning, obviously. But Microsoft in the past, from their launch of the Xbox One in 2013, so for when Phil Spencer took it over, the champion for the people, like everything that he's been doing, whether or not it's to save face or the fact that he's a great person, but this dude literally games more than anybody I know, like from what I can tell.
Yeah,
like he is logging some hours. I think that everything that he's done is to repair the brand and repair the trust of Xbox, but you can't say that he hasn't succeeded.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely has.
Backwards compatibility from OGX titles to also the 360 titles to now, and bringing that in, and also the fact that at launch the Series X is going to have the biggest library of any console ever launched.
Yeah, because you have legacy titles. Yeah,
you have legacy titles, but you have Game Pass.
Yep.
It's right there. You don't have to buy any games whenever you get Series X. You can go home, play it. Let's go.
Yep.
You'll download them first, probably, but then you get to play it.
When we get home with a PS5, you got to download whatever you want to play for it, or install whatever you want to play for it. And you're right, like with Game Pass, you can just stream right off the bat, or like download and play right off the bat. It's a different kind of way they're going into console generations moving forward. And I do want to loop back to that real quick. Let's run through the rest of the list of the games we got. We got a few. Warhammer 40K Dark Tide was announced. Tetris Effect Connected was announced. Tetris Effect was a huge thing when it came out for PlayStation and I believe PC not too long ago. The Gunk, which is kind of it looks like an action platformer that seems like it'd be interesting. I want to know more about it. The Medium, which I think is absolutely fascinating in the way that it works. I'm very excited.
So excited.
I'm not a huge survival horror person, honestly, but the way the game works with two parallel worlds running simultaneously is fascinating to me. And that's something that we've seen before, but if they can pull it off to the degree they're talking about, it'll be incredible. Ratchet and Clank was announced to do this for PlayStation as well, where multiple parallel universes are expanding and running simultaneously with yours, and you're able to go back and forth between those instantaneously. And when you think about draw distance and gray boxing and just jumping into a completely new rendered area, to have it rendering in the background and readily available for that jump for either one of these games, the Medium or Ratchet and Clank, that's a huge, fascinating thing, and I'm really looking forward to if it can be successfully delivered.
I can't wait to see the bugs.
I can't wait to see the bugs either. It's going to be great to see what breaks and how many ways. And
I can break it.
Yeah, Josh can break anything. That you have to think that in some way you'll be able to glitch some creature into a wall or something like that.
Well, I absolutely expect for either the Medium or even Ratchet and Clank for the game to just accidentally spawn something that doesn't belong in that universe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Demogorgon is going to just come out in the real world.
Yeah. Josh will leave his hands in a different dimension. Just his body will go. Also, guys, we got Phantasy Star Online too. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. Yes.
And I love playing Phantasy Star Online on the GameCube. That shit was dope.
Yep.
I love that game so much.
Yup.
You get people that either haven't played games for a long time, or people that play that game still on their GameCube.
Yep.
And they're going to be on it because the people that like Phantasy Star Online like Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the people that are level 1 million like the first 3 days and can one hit anything.
Yeah.
And they're also going to be the people that are going to be bitching about systems that changed in between GameCube and now. Like, why doesn't this work the same? But
because that was on the fucking GameCube.
yes, I know.
Are you knocking that? Come on.
No,
guys.
I'm not knocking it at all. Yeah, this come from a guy who, I kept Animal Crossing in my GameCube ready to go for years, and now I've got it on Switch. So, Crossfire X is also coming to the Xbox platform. I know it was a game on PC from South Korea. Is that right?
Yeah, South Korea.
Smile.
Like,
Yep.
Crossfire, just Crossfire itself.
Yeah.
And that was a free to play multiplayer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a story based because the story for Crossfire X is made by
Remedy, right? Yep.
Remedy, yeah.
And the
It's a
Control.
weird-
the
Quantum
original
Break.
developer is still doing the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's just like a joint force. They're both working on two parts of the same game to make one game. That's very interesting.
It would be
I think that you can. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it'd be a really awesome job to be like the project manager who has to bounce back and forth between those two companies, those two developers, and make sure things are paralleled and working out right.
I think you mean stressful.
I mean fascinating, and this is coming from somebody who has been a project manager. It is stressful, but it'd be fascinating to see how those two teams are working on the same thing from two ends.
Especially since Remedy, I think, is Swedish, and Smilegate is Korean, and then you have Xbox being in control. So that's an American company controlling two foreign country companies, trying to get them to communicate with each. That just has to be a lot of trends.
The Yanks are here.
If Microsoft's bid for TikTok actually goes through, then I mean they're just going to be. That's just how they're going to communicate with all these other developers in different areas.
Just through TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah. All right, Phil Spencer is going to be on his computer. All right, what's your progress, guys? And they're just going to TikTok a little gameplay video. Got it.
That works.
All right, so I need to check out how's the progress going on that.
Phil in his little tidy but still messy office that he streams from every time.
Hopefully, Microsoft does buy TikTok, they'll remove all the spyware.
Hopefully, it's astounding how much is there, but I don't want to get into that right now. It's actually alarming how unsafe that is. It's a different problem, different podcast. We'll talk about that next week on the Sausage Tray.
Yeah.
Rounding off the list, we got one more thing, as we always get one more things, and this was actually a good one more thing. We're getting another Fable game, which means your boy is buying a Series X, because I made a promise at this table that if a new Fable came out, I would buy a new Xbox, and we're getting a new Fable, so I'm a man of my word. I'll buy the fucking thing. But
you don't have to, because it'll be on Game Pass.
Yeah, I don't have to buy I've got to buy the box. I gotta buy a Series X. Yeah, because we were championing the whole time, like, we love Xbox games, but I've got a gaming PC. Josh has a gaming PC. I have an Xbox One upstairs, and there's like, my needs are met to play these games for the foreseeable future. Any games that would grab my attention, and Josh's are going to stay met, right? But I made a promise that if it came out, I would buy the box, and now I got to buy the box. But it's gonna balance out anyway, because my kids will be able to play next generation Xbox games on a One, and I'll be able to play next generation Xbox games on a Series X because I have the better thing, because I've earned it.
They have to earn the right to play on the
exactly
the Series X.
Exactly. Like, tell my son, when you carry this boulder up the hill, then you can play the Xbox Series X.
When you walk both ways uphill in the snow, you can play on the Series X.
Exactly. Right now, he's crying about being buried in sand. I mean, what are we gonna do? I'm very excited for
Please
Fable.
tell me that's a grounded reference and not
No, we were at the beach last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's still at the beach. He hasn't dug himself out yet.
I just want to play grounded.
The other kid.
I didn't want to be grounded. I wanted to play grounded.
Be more clear. So I'm a huge fan of Fable. I have been for a long time. It's 2, then 1, then 3. 3 is the bottom of the list. But I have huge expectations for what Playground can do with this. Personally, I wanted it to be rare. I thought a rare Fable would be fantastic, but I'm not mad. Playground makes great games, and I think they have a huge potential to do something that I think Lionhead and Peter Molyneux were restricted in what they could pull off before. Of course, we all know Mr. Molyneux was famous for promising things he couldn't deliver. Yeah. And then he changed his name and started Hello Games. But I think he was limited in what he had access to and what he could do, and Lionhead was restricted by that. I was really bummed when Lionhead got shut down by Microsoft. Fable Legends was going nowhere, though. That being an asymmetric multiplayer, it made no sense. I know that's when Evolve was a big thing, and that's
was
not
Evolve a big thing.
it was at the time. Like, it was assumed it was going to be a big thing. Josh, didn't we try to play it like once and then walk away from it completely?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's the same thing with Anthem. There's you have these games, these mechanics where you're like, oh man, this is going to be awesome, and then it just doesn't happen. But like, I think that with you talk about Lionhead being kind of like restricted on things, I think the past few years have really opened up the hearts and minds of gamers into. I mean, we're a fickle bunch. I understand that. I've said that multiple times, and I will keep saying that until the day I die. But I think they're more open to things. You can be weird, and you can kind of be doing wild, and I think it's going to make it work.
Yeah.
Like I think if they do something that's interesting and wild and kind of off the cuff a little bit, it being a Fable game, it's going to kind of make sense that it's what it is, because it's just like, what happens when it's 7:00? What time is it?
Yeah, it's getting late. The time is very late.
Yeah.
The stores are now closing. That's just the way it is.
Right.
It's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah,
But I think you can be even weirder now.
Oh.
I think you can go even deeper into that and make it that much more of a unique game experience that only Fable can give somebody. And I think that's what I'm excited about.
So Fable was always an M-rated series, right? But did it deserve it? Not really. I think the people that played Fable, the people that enjoyed Fable, have grown up a little bit. They'll be excited for a new title, and I honestly think that with Phil Spencer headlining Microsoft and having a hand on Playground, he's just gonna be Nintendo. Get weird, do some shit. Like, let them do what they want. And I think that's going to be fantastic. As long as you have skill development trees and like character growth, like you had in 1 and 2, not so much in 3, it'll be good. They have talked about the multiplayer just a little bit, because I think there was a miscommunication that the new Fable was going to be an MMO of sorts, and they're like, pump the brakes on that. We're not doing an MMO. It'll have multiplayer, but it's not going to be massive. It doesn't need to be. It needs to have multiplayer, but be restricted. And
it doesn't need the ESO.
Yeah. At the same time, it doesn't need to be Anthem. Oh my God, it does not need to be instance based multiplayer like Anthem or even like Destiny. That's not what you need from that world. I think there's a good balance to what you can do, but I think they need to focus on single player, but open it up to have multiplayer as an option. And that's just me personally as a fan of the series. With that said, I do want to say in the last last video Microsoft did, they announced the Ascent, which is it's like the Cyberpunk Diablo kind of game, which looks awesome, and I want to play it really, really bad.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I told Josh that day, I'm like, I'm ready to buy this now. I don't need to know anything else. This looks cool.
Smart delivery. It's going to be out before the next generation. So
yep.
Josh is playing that game nonstop for like an entire year.
Yep.
Aren't you?
I'm going to be very excited.
Diablo 3 slide against me. Everyone did want to fucking play Diablo 3.
If you could have learned to just say no.
Yep. Diablo 3 was fun though, man. You get roped into it.
Because how much I fucking played that game. I had to play it with Cameron. I had to play it with Eric and T. I played it on my own. I played it with you.
You got it on PlayStation, right?
Do what?
You got it on PlayStation, right?
Yeah, I had it on PlayStation.
Hey, dude, do you want to play Diablo 3?
Fuck you. I don't want to play damn Diablo 3.
Well, now that everybody's seen me get shot down, Scarlet Nexus was also announced for the Xbox. Of course, last time they announced the Medium. Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is fucking dope. I cannot wait for this because it's.
I thought I needed a fucking turn-based strategy.
A turn-based Yakuza.
Yakuza game.
Persona, Yakuza. There we go. Just like one weird ass game in the Yakuza universe. Bright Memory actually looks kind of cool. And at long last, Vampire the Masquerade 2 is coming around.
Game of the year.
It could be. I mean, it's interesting how many of these come out right before the cutoff, even though the console comes out after the cutoff. because of smart delivery, they'll cross over. But that's a very, very fine line to walk. So one of the big things that we were talking about today. What?
Really cool.
Was
Call of the Sea.
Yes. Oh yeah, there were a lot of things that were in like a press release that weren't actually in the video. You're right. Call C in the video?
Yeah.
I lost half my notes.
Dirt 5, Chorus, Madden 21, obviously AC Valhalla, and Scorn, which was
Scorn looks dope. I remember that one too.
The cinematic looked awesome. It could be RTS for all I know, which it might be, but I won't get it. So sorry, but if it's on Game Pass, I'll be able to try it.
It's actually going to be a first-person RTS.
Okay, Brutal Legend.
The what was the Amazon game that got announced during the Game Awards? Like the first game from Amazon Studios that was announced. I can't remember what it was called, but it had a really cool cinematic.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called either. Shit.
And the gameplay just does not look great. It was pretty much that exact thing. Like, here's this really cool thing. Now it's an RTS. Like,
yeah,
man, you killed it. Like,
I mean, that's just like Disintegration, the new game that just came out. It's not doing super hot. Like, it looks like the Exos or whatnot from Destiny.
Yeah.
I was super pumped about it, and then I was like, first person, all the stuff, first person shooter, let's go. Let's get our buddies together, let's go. Somewhat of a Destiny like parry off of, but then I heard that like the boss battles were RTS, and I'm like, I'm not about it. Like, but it was this past weekend, it was free to play on for Xbox, and I was so busy I couldn't even try it. I'm
not
kicking myself because. Yeah.
Not that there's anything against real-time strategy games, because I do like RTSs, and I know a lot of people do.
I'm just terrible at it.
But yeah,
I'm just terrible at it.
I'm not at a point. I used to play RTS games and like sit and plot out what I'm going to do like for the rest of today, and then how I'm going to come back and finish it tomorrow or next week. Like, I played Rise of Nations and Civ like a mother, but now it's like I got to take my time a little bit and just back off. Got to focus on what I'm doing. One of the big things that we talked about today was the ecosystem for Xbox. And I have this feeling, and I know we've discussed it before. I have this feeling that this is Phil Spencer's already said this, the next generation is called Xbox. The Series X is a model in that generation, right? I think this is just what we have now, because as a PC gamer, if you want to upgrade your hardware, you go out and buy a new graphics card. So in 2 or 3 years, when the 3000 series, the 4000 series Radeons are out, or not Radeons, but the NVIDIA cards are out, and good God, if they have a 3000 series Radeon, like if AMD kicks off that hard, like you go out and buy a new card, you can update your computer, right? You make small incremental upgrades, but it's still a lot of money. Console gamers just go buy a new box that has that updated equipment for you. Exactly. It's a leap of just the hardware that you don't have to invest in if Microsoft continues the way they're doing into this new generation, because these games are smart delivery. They'll pass over into the next generation, and you can play legacy titles through backwards compatibility. So if they stake their flag down, which is what I kind of see coming, that this is the way they're going to start developing from this point forward. And guys, we know it as PC gamers, Josh. Like, there are games that I wouldn't even think about trying to play on my PC, and I've got a pretty good graphics card, but they're not gonna run well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need more RAM. I need a better card. And there's some of them just flat out won't work, and it's not insane to think that console gaming from an Xbox perspective will be like that moving forward, where they create an ecosystem of players we can play across. Sony is still very, you buy a new console for the games that come with that console. You make games that work on that console, and I don't have a problem with that, because that's the way I grew up as a video gamer, right? I remember when I got my Nintendo 64 for Christmas, and at no point did I think that I could shove a Super Nintendo cartridge in it. Of course, my mom asked because she was outraged, like, why do we need to buy a new one? Because will it play your old games? No, it won't. But, parents asking that same question for years. Hey, does it play the old games? That's how we got backwards compatibility. That's why we have what Xbox has.
Yep.
And now, you like a little kid can go, yeah, mom, it does. It does play my old games. Like they win. So
That's the future, man.
exactly. Now we know the PS5 will be backwards compatible within a certain realm of reason, right? There will be a limited list.
But how is it going to be backwards compatible? See, that's the part that kind of.
Yeah, we don't know. And to be fair, we will find out more about that, assumably on Thursday this week, a little bit, because they're talking about, they did make the announcement about peripherals, like legacy peripherals yesterday. So I know that my VR system will work. My PSVR will work on PlayStation 5. I can play some PSVR games on PlayStation 5. Which ones? Who the fuck knows? Which, like, am I going to be able to come home on day one and pop God of War in and play it on PS5? I don't know. I would hope so. But as far as we know right now, Ghost of Tsushima is the only title that is 100% guaranteed to work at launch day on the PlayStation 5. Because it was July 1st or whatever. Sony said any game made after July 1st has to work on PS5, which kind of makes it sound like they had other games to roll out after Ghost, but that was it.
Let's be honest, that game was probably designed for the PS5.
Oh yeah. So The Last of Us 2 probably was too. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna get my soapbox on that one.
Yeah. Like The Last of Us 2 probably was, but The Last of Us 1 came out at a generational split. They knew they were going to release that as a remaster. I firmly believe they did the same thing with The Last of Us Part 2. I firmly believe it.
Thank you for being on my soapbox.
You're welcome. And I'm not going to lie. Sony is not going to do a forward compatibility with it. They're not going to say, all right, this game will scale up for PlayStation 5. But from the experience that I had with The Last of Us Part 2, I'd probably buy the remastered version. That's just me because it's just who I am. But like they know what they're doing as far as Sony goes. They know what they're doing in restricting what's going to carry over and what'll be available. They haven't told anybody else what they're doing yet, but they know they're siloing their console off, and Microsoft knows they're not. They're opening an ecosystem. They're not interested in a console war anymore. Microsoft is interested in being the place that you come to play games because your friends are here to play games. Your friends are in that same place. To make it easier, we're going to make sure that all of you have access to it. Those games are on Game Pass. For $15 a month, you can do this. Or if you go with the hardware purchase plan, if they do that for future consoles, pay that monthly rate, be able to get a console brought home with Game Pass, and be able to go from there. They're interested in building the Xbox brand and a full ecosystem for it. Honestly, I don't even see a point in arguing as far as like console war anymore, because they have two completely different paths and two different plans. I'm going to get a PlayStation to play those first-party PlayStation titles. That's all there is to it. Because, in my opinion, they've earned that. The status and the reputation that they have for those titles, they've earned that. And they could easily lose it. That whole thing could just go right the hell away, right? If they don't put out...
Piss a lot of people off just with Miles Morales.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was super fucking pumped for Miles Morales, but yeah, a lot of people are not.
I'm talking about how short it is.
Yeah, how short, because it's not.
Yeah.
It's more like a lost legacy from Uncharted. Yeah.
It's like a standalone, like not
DLC,
extended,
but
it's like a standalone short story.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know if it's still a rumor, but it's supposed to come with a like remastered or version of Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4, but for PlayStation 5.
See, I read an article that specifically said that they were not doing that. So, and that might have been a rebuttal article because of the rumor mill is so
The
thick.
article he's talking about specifically, I read, and the writer of that article mentioned that there was a lot of miscommunication going on about Miles Morales.
Okay.
So it could be that nobody really knows what's happening because everyone's trying to say a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Infamous, when Second Son came out, that game took off for whatever height that it did. It was not nearly as well received as its predecessors. I platinumed Infamous Second Son. I happen to have enjoyed it. First Light came out not too long after as a standalone game that just, it added more substance to what was already there. Lost Legacy, like we just said, came out for the Uncharted series, does not feature Nathan Drake. It's Nathan Drake. It's a nice little side. And I'm perfectly fine with that being a deal for Miles Morales. Now, whether or not that's something that you use to kick off a console generation, that's the argument that a lot of people are going to make. Like, we don't want a small thing here. We would expect a much larger game.
Yeah. Give me a banger.
All right. Like, Spider-Man just came out 2 years ago, so that's kind of soon for how much time they put into Spider-Man initially, or Marvel Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. And you think, they probably have that sandbox to build off of, but Miles is taking place in a completely different area, right? Completely different part of the city. So
it's a different part of the city, but it's only like a third of the size of the city that we had.
Yeah. So that is really restrictive when you think of, man, playing in New York. It was big, but it didn't feel that big, honestly. Like,
you can get from point A to point B pretty quick. I mean, you're fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is kind of the point. That game, I have my gripes with it. I didn't think it was perfect by a long shot. I've been voiceful about that, and I'm not going to get into it right now. But that game made me feel like Spider-Man, unlike any other game before has ever made me feel like Spider-Man. And from the moment that you like jump off a roof and go swinging, it just feels good, right? And before that, it was the Spider-Man 2 video game, just hands down.
That's a huge gap in between.
You didn't like Ultimate on OGX?
Huh?
You didn't like Ultimate on OGX?
It was okay, man. But dude, the Spider-Man 2 was just good all the way around. Yeah.
I actually really like Ultimate on.
I did too.
Never played it.
Another cell shade game.
Another cell shaded game, yeah.
Yeah, because I like that it was actually stylized like the Ultimate like comic series. With dope.
Yeah.
With Venom and all that stuff. But anyway,
yeah. It's like, I don't know. The two companies have very different ideas on how they're going to roll out their next generation, and Sony is going with their traditional pattern. It's a new console. You have games for that console, and that's their thing, man. Go that way. Fans are gonna go after those games. They're gonna get that console, myself included. But the more I see come out of Microsoft's corner, the more excited I am for the next generation of Xbox games. And whether that's on an Xbox console or played on PC, I am getting more and more excited for them. I kind of saw this press conference as lukewarm. It was okay when I first watched it. I was talking about the one on the 23rd for Microsoft. But after it was over, I'm getting more and more excited for the things that were announced. Like, I can't remember necessarily feeling that way for a lot of Xbox, or for a lot of the ones on the Microsoft, or sorry, not Microsoft, but PlayStation display, except for Stray. Stray looks amazing, and Bug Snacks. Those two were just the runaways of the show. So
the funny thing is, with Bug Snacks, I literally on my notes said, Bug Snacks, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I mean, I get it. There's a crowd. It goes towards the direction of a specific crowd. But like, I'm like, oh my God. But I'm also not an Animal Crossing guy. Granted, I've never played Animal Crossing, so I will not give you my home address. You will not know how to kill me. But like, whenever we're talking about we've been together, we've had dinner together and everything like that. We talked about the PlayStation conference and we talked about the Microsoft conference, and the more and more we talk about it, I think that's where your hype comes from. And we have gravitated more and more talking about the Microsoft one because there's a lot more to talk about with they've released details, like more details than Sony has on the like the architecture of the console and what it can do and the power, like numbers to talk about, but also the fact of the ecosystem. We can talk about this whole speculation and stuff. And Sony, since they're doing the same thing they've always done, there's nothing really different to talk about it. You're like, all right, well, this is the next console. You know, it has tons of power. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, we like talk. Go ahead.
Excuse me. No, I was going to say Sony hasn't been forward with information for the past like 2 or 3 years, and not just about
Right.
the PlayStation 5, but ever since they canceled PSX 2 years ago, and then backed out of E3, and then canceled PSX again, and then E3 got canceled because of COVID. They've been playing everything really close to their chest, and I guarantee a portion of that has to be figuring out how to release information in an appropriate way that lands with people. Especially after that Mark Cerny, the Mark Cerny display earlier this year, which was supposed to be a CES conference. I get that, and I knew what to expect from that, but a lot of people were like, he's not saying anything. There are no games. They're not supposed to be games. This is a consumer electronic show. He's telling people what this thing can do in the most boring way possible because that's the language these people speak.
It's a press conference for numbers and stocks and all that stuff.
Yeah, everybody in the chat room for that thing, it's not for you. You're in the wrong place.
Yeah. But unfortunately, because of COVID, they released it like that, and everyone thought it would be some kind of like PlayStation like expo thing. But like, no, it's just like hard facts and numbers, and that's all that's supposed to be.
Yep. Their marketing and PR was not on top of that message, though. They're like, this is a deep dive into the architecture for PS5. And ever since then, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but whenever they put out a tweet, or when Sony puts out a tweet or a message or anything to say, this is the event that we have going on, or this is the show we're going to put on, like this Thursday, for instance, it's very bold at the bottom. We are not showing off PS5 games. We are not talking about the PlayStation 5 console.
I saw that today with the new VR stuff that they were going to talk about. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to be in front of it. Like, get your hopes down, because this is what we're discussing right now. Right. And I appreciate that in one regard, because it's the right move to taper those expectations, but you're still going to have people that just straight out fucking ignore it.
It's also a way not to get memed.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best way to try to get around it.
And can we talk about how like awesome Microsoft has been with embracing the meme culture, like, and talking about they're memeing themselves. They're being a lot more playful. They're not attacking themselves, but whenever you do that, it leads you not to be able to be attacked from outside.
Yeah.
Because we all remember the YouTube videos that Sony made back in 2013. Here's how you share a game on PlayStation. Yep. Thanks. Like, I mean, it is like, not going to get into that, but you guys have all heard my spiel and all of that conspiracy theory. But like, I think they're both doing their own thing, and Nintendo's still doing their own thing. And and I really think that you're right. The console war is pretty much over because they're not competing against each other. They're doing their gaming systems in their own way that they want to do. If Sony wants to keep doing what they're doing, they're going to do it. Xbox, with this ecosystem, they're going to do it. With this all access, with getting their console for X amount of money a month. And it comes with Game Pass and Ultimate, and you get live, and you have all these access to games, so you don't have to chunk out $500-$600 potentially. Who knows how much it's going to cost, like all at once. And typically, it's going to be cheaper in the long run. Anyway, that's how it was with the Scorpio and the S.
Yep.
I mean, I think the all digital was $19 a month.
Yep.
And you know that they're going to have it. Yeah, you know they're going to have it because whenever you got the Scorpio, after 10 months or so of good payment history, you're eligible to upgrade to the next generation whenever it came out. They already made that. So there's a plan in place. I don't know if it's going to be the day it comes out, because can you imagine the lines of people trying to what happens whenever new Galaxy gets announced, which is about to happen actually this week, I think. And then a new iPhone gets announced, and everybody's trying to get their new phone, and they just can't buy it. They have to set up a new contract and all that stuff. Can you imagine a store like Target or Best Buy that only got 12, 20 consoles?
It'll be interesting because they offer that, like Microsoft offers that online. It'll be interesting to see if they open up those orders before the console launches. So like pre-order through Microsoft and get it shipped directly to you on release day. It'd be interesting if they decide to go that route.
Well, they're also inside Xbox All Access. They were also doing that through Amazon, and then they also earlier this year they announced their partnership with Best Buy. So that is a good, interesting point that they might be doing that pre-order-esque thing. Go ahead and set everything up, and then we'll ship it to you.
Yeah.
But it's talking about the ecosystem and talking about how Halo Infinite is the center for all the next generation Halo games are going to come away from, and the free-to-play multiplayer for Destiny, the free-to-play multiplayer for Crossfire X. That's this huge thing that we keep seeing a lot of nowadays. So the free-to-play not free-to-play, but the cheaper way to play for Xbox ecosystem would be the Game Pass, would be Ultimate. And also that includes xCloud now. Your Game Pass Ultimate turns into xCloud, which is mobile gaming anywhere you are, which is huge because all of a sudden that library of Game Pass theoretically is the new Xbox xCloud library. And it's still in beta, and they've already talked about that stuff.
But to have all that mobile would be fantastic. Like
right.
It's unprecedented. Yeah.
Yeah, your hardware is the game itself and the ecosystems, but then your connection is the Game Pass, and it's fine. And I don't know. I'm really excited. I really am.
It really feels like this move from like the no more console generation wars
Excuse me.
is all based on like the company's at heart like structure models. Like Sony has always sold hardware. Nintendo started off as a card game company in like feudal Japan.
Yeah.
So there always have been about games and being fun and innovative. And Microsoft is literally a software company. It's in the name, Microsoft. And I feel like they're trying to get away from like really selling hardware, because I know for a fact like Phil brought the Xbox back to life, because they were like, if the one doesn't get better, that's it. No more Xbox. We're done.
I told that when he got promoted. How would you like that? You get a promotion, fix this, or the entire thing is over.
Gone. Yeah. So like I feel like it's smart for them to try to just push more games, more software based stuff like the xCloud. If you can start playing Halo on your phone because you have it in the cloud, that's brilliant. That's how Microsoft itself works. If you have a Windows 10, you can put it on any device that accepts any kind of Windows program. So it makes sense for them to do that with their gaming model too, because you could just be like, okay, yeah, dude, if as long as it has some sort of Microsoft 10 connection, go ahead and play any of your Microsoft.
I can continue my games by logging into my Windows 10 computer at work. I don't do it. Don't fire me. But
yeah,
I can do it if I wanted to.
Yeah, you could like log in on your computer at work and be like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and download this Xbox app and play my fucking games.
I'm fortunate enough to have the internet speed that allows me to do the game streaming for PlayStation, and I do it in my office quite a bit. But one thing I am interested to see, I have to give credit where credit is due. PlayStation Now has gotten better than it was, because it was an absolute shit last year.
No, it was garbage.
Yeah, but
funny.
it was a couple of months ago. I pointed out to Josh, I'm like, it's gotten better, and it works kind of well when it works. I think, Josh, did you play Control on a PlayStation Now?
No, I actually bought the game and then found out it was on. Now, and I was like, I could have had a free trial and just played the. But honestly, I don't regret buying Control because that game is really fucking fun.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I remember seeing that it was on Now, and there's a couple other titles I want to check out. They don't push that service anywhere near as much as Microsoft pushes Game Pass. But then again, it's also not as integrated. They haven't done that kind of forward thinking for the consumer. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see them doing it. I don't expect it. But you have to think there needs to be you have to think there are at least conversations happening at Sony to say, people really like that Game Pass thing. Maybe we need to look into expanding PlayStation Now a little bit more. Maybe we need to wrap Plus and Now into a single subscription. It's not going to happen.
It wouldn't be the first time that Sony sees a competitor doing something and going, we should get one of our own.
Yeah, absolutely not.
We literally just talk about the parallels of everything that they're doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
I mean, they were pushing, they're like haptic feedback on our controllers. Yeah, we've done that. Like, adaptive triggers. Yeah, we got it. They're not buttons anymore. We triggers. Yeah, we get it. Like, built, it's just,
it's like,
they're painting something a different color and saying we invented it.
There's a lot of growth over things that PlayStation's doing. I still like my symmetrical thumbsticks. I'm that guy. Granted,
that's fine.
360 controller is still one of the best controllers. 360, N64, and GameCube, and the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 just feels natural to me. I love that controller. But I'm
sorry about the PlayStation 5.
Yeah. It's gonna be weird.
But I mean, just like I was talking to somebody at work today about who is clearly young. This is his first job, and he asked me. He saw my email about with the Xbox thing, and they were talking about how xCloud is going away and it's being rolled through. And he asked me if I was going to do new console, and I, as less snarky as I could possibly be, said yes. But then we started talking about the controller. He's like, man, I'm just really not excited about the controller because he's a PlayStation person. I go, do you remember what the PlayStation 3 originally was going to look like?
Silver Boomerang.
This kid was born that year. So and when I started talking about it, I was like, yeah, way back in like 2005 when it was like announced and stuff. He goes, yeah, that was the year I was born. Instantly felt some type of way. But
let me tell you something, Junior. I remember when the DualShock came out, like because it was just the PlayStation gamepad before then. Like I remember when they added thumbsticks, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, and why are they here? And then I started playing with it, and you can't go back. Like, it's just a staple on controllers now.
Right.
Like, it's a major integration.
Yeah, my fear with the next that leap that they're taking, which I applaud them for taking that leap. Microsoft took that leap in 2013, didn't pan out, so they had to do a massive reconstruction. Again, not going in my conspiracy theory on that, but when they announced the PS3, the way it was going to look and the Boomerang controller, they had a year to fix that before it released, before the next E3 to showcase what it was now looking like. And they basically made just a better version of the PS2 controller. And then the PS4 was, I feel like, the controller that they might have wanted to do back then, just didn't have it readily available. But they have months. And this shit's already in production, their controllers. So all of this backlash, the way it looks, they're like, oh, it looks like an Xbox controller or whatnot. And that not necessarily isn't a bad thing. they might be trying to do that to get Xbox owners being like, hey, that looks like a comfortable controller that I might want to check out. That might be a good logical thought. But if there's backlash because of that, they do not have any time to fix it.
I mean,
they have, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're pretty decided and set on what they expect from the DualSense at this point. And
for sure.
I like it. Like, I was a little caught off guard at first, but I dig it. The console shape itself is weird, but
awesome.
Yeah,
I think you mean
it's weird. I think it's cool. My thing is, like, how's this gonna look in my living room? You know what I mean? Because I'm like domesticated and shit now. Like, my wife decorates that room, so it's like, hey, here's all of her neat decorations and everything. And what was a nice, sleek, white, slender box, I had the PS4 Pro, the Destiny 2 edition, is now an alien vagine in my TV stand. And
it's a modern artistic structure that happens to have function.
And looks like
there's no function for the top wings.
No,
it's a router.
That is like an inch or 2 inches of just thin plastic that my cats are going to chew on.
Hey, listen, the PlayStation 4 had a jet engine. The PlayStation 5 has jet wings. That's just the way that is.
Well,
you put them all together, you get a functional plane.
Well, I was going to say, like, if you're playing God of War, you better need the wings, because it sounded like it was going to take off in your PlayStation 4.
I actually I booted up God of War for the first time in a long time, not too long ago, and my PS4 did not make a sound at all. Like, it was completely quiet to the point that I thought it crashed, and I was afraid to hit a button. I was afraid to hit a button and start the game just because I thought the thing just died. Yeah. But I don't know. I keep mine cleaned out, so it never really gets that bad. But boy, when it does, woof. Yeah. I don't know. I'm really excited for both of these consoles. I'm really excited for the platforms for both, and things that we can learn between now and, in November. Of course, I think Microsoft's doing a monthly announcement. Is that what their thing is now?
Monthly or bi-weekly. I think that they're doing like little bits here and there. I mean, they do a lot on their website. Yeah. Like, I check Xbox.com a lot to look at the specs and stuff for the Series X, to look at how it's, before they even really announced anything about it, they had a teaser trailer, kind of like, obviously very, 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 very secretively, but like showed you the architecture of it, like the split motherboard, the split the fan system, the integrated external or the integrated memory chip that's a terabyte that goes directly into the motherboard for faster load times. So if you just want to have all of a sudden a 2 terabyte console, you can do that with Seagate. The fact that you don't have to buy any peripherals. Your old peripherals work, which I think helps with the whole ecosystem. And all of this stuff, they haven't really said in any press conference. They had the details on their website.
Yeah, just pushing it out.
If you're interested, then you're gonna search it and you're gonna be like, oh, it's really cool. If you're not interested, then you don't need to know that it does 12 teraflops GPU.
Nope.
Because then you're gonna have to look up what a teraflop is, and then you're gonna have to look up like what all the other things to understand that. Because if that doesn't interest you, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever like paid attention to the specs on a game console. Like, on an actual like PC, yeah, I care about the specs, but on a game console, all I need to know is what kind of games you're selling me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much that way too. Like, with a PC, you have the customization with it, but when it comes to the console itself, like, give me something that's worth playing on your console, since you're going to have exclusives on that platform.
Yeah, I think that it's really important though, because for me, when the Scorpio was announced, they also announced the Series S, and a lot of people gave Phil Spencer flack about that. I don't know if you guys remember that press conference back in 2000 and the E3 2016.
Yeah,
or E3 2017 actually. They said, this
I thought it was the Game Awards.
It was the E3.
Oh, that's right. They didn't show the console. They just did like the
it
the
was
overview.
E3 2016.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it was
the
an
E3
overview.
2016.
I remember that.
Yeah, because it was 2016 because they said this November you will play the Series S, and they gave a price point and everything. And then they're like, and here's the future. And then they showed a trailer of the Series X. And they had like people from Bethesda talking about like, oh my God, they're really going to do this liquid cooled system, six teraflops of power. And then when they're starting to look at it, like I had no idea what that was. But the fact that the PS4 Pro does 3.6, that the Series S does 3.1. So I'm thinking like, man, this is twice as powerful as this console. And see, that's where I get this. And I can see that number. I don't really quite understand it. I don't think that I understand much of this, but I can see math. 12 is a bigger number than 6. I know that it's twice as powerful as the Scorpio, and that blows my mind because I'm already loading in to my Destiny strikes and raids and stuff a solid minute and a half. I'm clearing ads and going before the mission starts. That my friends can play on, and they're on S's. So the fact that I can see that, I can understand that, and be like, man, this is gonna be. It pumps me up because I don't really understand how fast it is, but I understand that it's twice as fast what I got.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they put it in practice for. I know load times are a big thing right now. I'm incredibly happy with the load times for Ghost of Tsushima. It doesn't make sense.
It's super quick.
Yeah, like they actually had to slow that down because of you didn't have time to read the notes and tips and shit. But they actually, like the developer said, we had to space it out and create a buffer because people didn't have time to read the tips that come up on the death screen.
First time it loaded, I was like about to read the tip, and I'm like, well, that was gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what was there to read because it's already loaded.
Yeah.
I don't think I read a tip on the loading screen for like probably the first 10 hours I played.
Yeah.
Just I wasn't even aware there were tips on the screen. I was just kind of spacing out, looking up and going, oh, I'm in.
Oh, it's ready. Yeah. Fast travel's legitimately 3 seconds to anywhere on the map. It is amazing. But that's the kind of thing that when you think about how data is flowing for your product, it's faster to do those pulls. It'll be great to see how it'll be great to see how future consoles work with their solid state drives to pull that off. But it's also up to the developer on how that data is being rendered and pulled. Well, guys, we've gone for a long time, so I'm gonna get ready to wind it down. But I'm gonna ask the same thing I usually ask when we're winding these down. Josh, what are you playing?
I am playing the Paper Mario Origami King and Neo 2 because the DLC came out.
Nice. Are you gonna platinum the DLC? Are you gonna get all the trophies in the DLC? Because you platinum the core game, right?
I platinum the regular game. I don't think I'll.
To platinum the DLC, you'll have to finish the DLC in the new difficulty.
Yeah, you just have to beat.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's literally only 2 main missions.
Yeah.
But maybe it really depends how interested I maintain in Neo before I go. I'd rather go back to playing some Mario.
I got you.
Right now, I'm actually having a lot of fun playing Neo again.
Eric, what about you?
Nothing but Neo 2 from now until Cyberpunk.
You're a man of your word.
I'm going to platinum the DLC, and I'm going to replay the entire game in the new difficulty. And that'll probably be the last difficulty that I actually replay the whole game in like that. Just because after there are 2 more DLCs, which means there are 2 more difficulty jumps. And after this one, I don't think it would be worth punishing myself on those.
I hear that. And Tony, what are you playing right now?
I'm playing a shit ton of Destiny. I'm getting back. I mean, so I've always been a fan of Destiny. Letdown and all that aside, I owned it. I pre-ordered it for the Ghost Edition for Destiny 1, and then I bought it again for the Destiny for the PS4, and then I did the exact same thing when Taken King came out. I did the exact same thing when second one came out. I've spent way too much money on Destiny, and So now I actually finally have a really good group of people that are still in it and that have been in it. And they're ready to grind. They're ready to do this. And we play in the past, probably since Beyond Light was announced. I think that really got me into it with the new architecture or the archetype that they're bringing in there. I really, as sparse as the story is, I'm glad that I have hope because this is the first real big one that Activision is not a part of.
Yeah.
They're bringing back the Stranger. They're bringing back all this other stuff. The seasonal event is really, really cool this time around. So I have a good hope for it. But I've probably put 80 hours in the past month.
That's a good haul.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, every day when I got off work, I would play from like 7 till 2 a.m. Like
Getting that work in.
Yep, getting that
yeah,
time.
you know, I can't go to the gym, so I'm just working out on my game console.
Making it hard.
Other than that, I was kind of kicking myself because I never played Shadow of War, and that's on Game Pass. So I kind of booted that up and just got sucked back into Destiny. So I'm just kind of doing that. I'm grinding that out because I haven't ever gotten the past 100 on the season pass. So I'm trying to do that,
Okay.
which I'm at 103 now. So I'm still playing it. I don't know why.
Cool.
And
That's
Justin, what are you playing?
Realistically, I haven't played much since I got back from vacation. Before I went out, I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I have not finished it yet. So my goal is to finish Ghost of Tsushima, and
Platinum.
man, I'll tell you what, probably. I don't know if it's gonna.
It's really not that hard to platinum it.
It's really
Just
not.
playing the game.
Yeah, like I haven't. So I'm still in Act 1, but like the end of Act 1. Yeah, because I didn't have that much time to play for like 3 or 4 days before I went out of town.
That's true.
So, and then like while I was out of town, I let my brother borrow my PlayStation. And now that I'm back, I've got it hooked up, but I haven't even booted up the game. PlayStation's been sitting in there. Still playing Animal Crossing every day for about 10 to 15 minutes, just doing my dailies. But I haven't gotten into that much. I want to play Ghost of Tsushima and get through it, probably platinum it. And then there are several games that I kind of just want to dive into Game Pass on. Things that I've been putting off for a while.
Hellblade.
Yeah, Hellblade's definitely one of them.
No, that needs to be the first one.
I definitely want to play through that.
Next month.
I got to decide if I'm playing it on PC or on Xbox, just because I have it on Steam and it's available on Game Pass. So it's just determining which ecosystem I want to sit down with. Man, outside of that, there's not a whole lot. I'd like to say that I'm just gonna like get through these games and then play The Witcher until Cyberpunk comes out, but it's probably not gonna happen that way. Oh, what I'm playing isn't a video game. I've gotten terribly into D&D 5th edition ever since our tabletop podcast, which everybody should go back and look at. Because I was never very much into tabletop games. I'd played 1 or 2 very, very briefly, but man alive, Eric started talking about rules, and I'm like, I want to look up these rules, and now I'm like, I like all these rules. These are good. I like these a lot. So
Yeah, 5e's real good about not over encumbering you with rules and only giving you enough to make a story out of.
Yeah, so I've developed 2 campaigns, created. I've created over a dozen like playable characters, and I don't want to know how many enemies and NPCs based off character charts and roles. But I'm having a lot of fun just like making things, and I really think that we all need to get together for a tabletop night. I know we discussed that before.
But I was going to say, I've actually never played D&D, and I would love to be invited if you guys want to do that.
My man, let me tell you something.
Let's fucking do it.
I will make dinner. Y'all come over. we will do dinner and tabletop games and hang out. Get some drinks. We'll be good to go.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Yes. So everybody watching at home, sucks to be you nerds. We're gonna go hang out and play D&D. Everybody listening at home,
you'll be able to see.
Yeah. we'll figure something out. We've been talking about recording a tabletop. Now we just need to figure out how to do it. Guys, I really appreciate you joining me for this. This is a wonderful first take and first try at doing this. It was great, and I appreciate you so much. Tony, it was fantastic to have you in on this, man. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll join us to do more of these in the future.
I absolutely will. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Josh, take care. Bestie, bye. Everybody, thank you for watching Hard at Play. Join us next week for the Sausage Tray, and catch us back here in 2 weeks when we do this whole ridiculous rigmarole again, talking about something. Thank you all. Have a good week.
Bye.
Hey, I'm Cameron with Roommates Gaming. You just finished watching a video. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more. Oh, hey, look, there's a video down there. And there's one there too. Wow!